Hello everyone, Camille here, and today I'm going to be talking with you guys about one of my all-time favorite cameras. Granted, I have many, but my Fujiflm X100V. So this is one of my digital cameras, and it is essentially, I don't know if it's technically considered a DSLR because it does not have an interchangeable lens, but it is just as high quality as a DSLR. So this is not going to be a specky review by any stretch. This is going to be a video talking to you about my shooting experience with my Fuji X100V, showing you some example photos, and just really going into the documenting life aspect of this camera. So this camera is absolutely incredible. It has all of the features of a DSLR, but it is formatted like a film camera. So even though this camera has only been out for a couple of years, it looks like and operates as far as setting dials go like a film camera, but it's like brand new and very powerful. So here you have your aperture ring. Switch that guy like that. That is extremely fun, by the way. And then you can set your ISO as well as your shutter speed, your exposure compensation, and you have your focus ring here. I have my focus ring actually set because I use autofocus, and I use the touchpad to focus and then soft shutter button to take the picture. I do not use the focus ring for focusing. I use it for changing the film simulations. So the reason I got this camera is because I am a street photography fanatic. One day I hope to be a lot better at it, but it's something that I'm extremely passionate about. And so I wanted a camera that was really easy and basically pocketable. I have a Canon 5D Mark III. It is a full frame camera, and that thing is a beast, but it is massive. It is absolutely massive. It's like a workout just like holding it, let alone lugging it around the city. I have genuinely like come home and my arm was sore. Granted, I'm not a strong person, but still, that camera is a behemoth. And so it is amazing for wedding photography. It is amazing for photo shoots. It's amazing for all the crazy things that I do in life with my friends when it comes to planned shoots. But when it comes to I'm just walking around and I want to go to Seattle with my friends, or I want to go visit my sister, or I want to go whatever, just go hang out with people, that thing is so big and it's like it's intimidating for people. And so I wanted a camera that did not intimidate people, but that still really packed a punch and still had the capacity to take really high quality photos. So I found that finding essentially a DSLR that was pocketable was worth an investment for me because of how passionate I am about photography and how much I would enjoy having a camera that I can take everywhere. And so this camera was a huge game changer for me because not only was I deeply attracted by the combination of the size and the quality and all of the control the same way you have with a DSLR, but it also has film simulations. So as somebody who was becoming slowly but surely obsessed with film, getting a digital camera that has film simulations was a big deal to me, especially because I love my photographs having a certain like aesthetic to them. I love having like the day that I shoot, all of those photos have cohesion. But to be honest with you, for me, photo editing is just one of those, like, you have to do it, but it's not something that I would say that I, like, enjoy, that I'm like, oh, yeah, this is awesome. Like, it's more like, okay, I love the result. I love, like, seeing it afterwards, and I'm like, oh, it's gorgeous, so good. Like, it was worth having to sit there and do all that work. But actually doing the work, I'm like, I could take it or leave it. I'm pretty neutral about it. Don't hate it, but I don't really love it either. The reason that film simulations was such a big game changer for me is you get it right in camera and then you're done out of camera. And that was the best to me. So like I nail exposure, I nail composition, I nail focus, and then I'm done. I'm done. Because I have film simulations that give it a gorgeous look, and I literally switch the camera off and it auto transfers my files to my phone, and boom, bang, done deal. That is absolutely incredible. So if you are somebody who is interested in going into photography, not as like a professional photographer, but just as like I want to document life, and I want to document, you know, maybe it's your family or your friends or your hobbies or whatever, but kind of like a hobbyist sort of thing, especially like geared towards life shooting versus like, I don't know, like professional shooting, like wedding and all of that. This camera I would hugely recommend, or something similar. Obviously you have to think about price range and, you know, what your needs are and stuff. But as somebody who's super passionate about photographing my life and photographing the people close to me, this camera is the best. It is the best because I just get to create gorgeous photos in camera and then job done. The other reason why I am such a fan of this camera is because of the fact that it's not intimidating. So one, when you are out on the streets photographing strangers with it, it looks like a film camera. People respond differently to film cameras than they do to digital cameras, and they are simply not intimidated by them, is really what it comes down to. So when your camera looks like a film camera, that really works to your advantage because people have a much more bare minimum neutral reaction or positive reaction. The amount of like curiosity, or actually people approaching me and asking me questions, or smiling at me and pointing at my camera, or like the amount of positive / neutral experiences has gone way up with this camera than my standard Canon 5D Mark III. The other thing about it is because it's not intimidating, not only is it not intimidating in size and appearance, it's also not intimidating in sound. So for people who are not natural, you know, hams and who just love their picture taken, people get very self-conscious when they hear the sound of the shutter. They're like, oh, she's taking a picture, she's taking a picture, she's taking a picture, and it gets into their head, and they start to react differently. With this guy, you can shoot completely silently. It has an electronic shutter, it has a mechanical shutter, and it has the combination thereof where it will switch in between, kind of dependent on its needs. So I will use the electronic shutter, which is literally silent, to photograph my friends when we're hanging out. So they know I'm photographing them. Like, obviously, they know I'm photographing them. Camera's on, I'm walking around, I'm pointing the camera at them, but they don't know exactly when the photo is happening. And that takes away so much of the tension and the stress. And so as somebody who's super into documentary style photography, super into lifestyle photography, it is such a game changer when people just have to get comfortable with the fact that a camera is around, and they don't have to get comfortable every single time a photo is being taken. That is a big distinction, and it's a distinction worth making. So, you know, when I'm hanging out with my friends, I'm very transparent that I'm taking pictures. But like I said, because they can't hear the shutter, they never know exactly when the picture is being taken. And so they just kind of are able to relax more, not necessarily perfectly, but relax more than they would should they hear the click, click, you know, every time the photo is being taken. So for those reasons, I absolutely adore this camera. I have taken this camera to all sorts of social events, to game nights, to just hanging out on Sundays after church, to just freaking whatever, right? Just whatever. And I've had a very positive experience with shooting with this camera. I will say it is heavier than it looks. That is probably one of the downsides for me personally, is I bought it with the intention of it being pocketable, like literally put it in my pocket and go. It is not pocketable. It is portable, but it's not pocketable. And that might seem like an unnecessary distinction, but for somebody like me who is such an avid photographer, who I would literally take pictures every single day of my life if I had the energy, like if I didn't get burnt out by other things. But no joke, that's how like much I love photography. Granted, I can get like just really into my passions and all that, and my passions can rotate, so who knows, you know. But photography is one of those ones that it either stays for a really long time, or even if it like dips and bows out for a little while, it never bows out for long. It always comes back like full force after like a couple of months or whatever. So I never go more than a couple of months without doing photography, and then when it does come back around, it comes back around for a long time. So it's definitely one of those hobbies that's just going to be there forever. And so having cameras that meet certain needs and are significantly easier to use in certain circumstances is actually extremely important to me. So this camera, portable but not pocketable. It's heavier than you'd expect, and it is bigger than most point and shoots. Just something to be aware of. So there was a case that I was originally using for my mini Instax, but then I switched it, and so now I'm using it for this. So it basically looks like a cute little purse. It was literally like $12 at Walmart. It's not fancy. And then it just has like 2 pockets, and I fit this guy in here, and then I swing this on my shoulder and good to go. So it's not the end of the world, but it is one more thing to carry. So eventually, on one of my on my unreasonable wish lists, I do hope to get a camera that is genuinely pocketable, just because I want to reach a point in my photography journey where I am taking pictures like every day, or I'm taking pictures just like as much as possible, and I'm not letting the limitations of my gear slow me down. So you'd be surprised. Maybe you don't have this issue, maybe you do, but little barriers can get in the way. They just can, right? And so as somebody who wants to document my life and become very skilled at doing so, and who really wants to make gorgeous, photographs of the people I love and the life that I live, having something that is not pocketable is a barrier. And so that is something that I wrestle with. I love, love, love this camera. I have shot so many pictures with this camera. And this camera will definitely remain in my toolkit, in my, everyday camera bag. But at some point, I'm probably going to supplement my gear with a pocketable camera, with one that is truly so small that I can just put it in my jacket pocket and go, because that, as much of a game changer as this camera was, having one that can still produce really high quality photos but is tiny is going to be even more of a game changer. So that is all I'm going to say about that. If you are somebody who is interested in high quality photos for life or for the street, I highly recommend you look into the Fujiflm X100 series. There's a couple of different options, not just the V. The other ones I recommend you looking into, which one of them is on my current wish list, is the Ricoh GR series. I personally, because they're the ones that have super high quality images, have a lot of the same level of functioning, but are genuinely pocketable versus just portable, is the Ricoh GR, and the one I'm looking at is the 3. So we'll see if I am able to eventually get that or not. This is a 35mm equivalent lens. Depending on what brand you go with, that will vary. This is a non-interchangeable lens. This is a fixed lens. I do not have a problem with that. The reason I don't have a problem with that is because I feel like this lens focal length is extremely versatile. The whole point of this camera is so that it's small. The moment you start interchanging the lenses, the moment the size it completely defeats the purpose. Like, the purpose of this camera was to make sure that I could go to game nights, that I could go to movie nights, that I could go to the park with my friends, that I could go to all of these places where I'm just doing life with people, and I'm not bringing this, you know, behemoth of a camera with me. I'm not carrying all of this equipment with me. I just have this little guy and rock and roll. So even if I were to get a portable camera, or sorry, pocketable camera, I probably would still have this readily available to use, and I still would turn to this on a regular basis. It just wouldn't be the one that I'm carrying with me every single day, everywhere I go, because that's the position that has yet to be filled. Right now I have a bag of camera equipment that I carry with me everywhere. But by everywhere, I mean back and forth from my car to make sure that I have access to it in some capacity, dependent on where I am, versus having something that is physically on my person at all times. To this day, it is only my camera on my phone that is physically on me at all times. As a passionate photographer who wants photography to be a main part of her life, I want a camera that I can physically have on me at all times. So that is a goal, but having a bag that I carry my that I carry my camera equipment in, and having this literally a purse that I can like whoop, like grab and go, is still pretty close. It's still getting real close. So I end up carrying two purses a lot of times, the purse for what is actually going on in my life, and then some kind of mini purse that has the current camera that I'm trying to use in that circumstance. So yeah, that is everything there, and I hope you enjoyed my very rambly, very non-technical discussion of this camera, as well as all of the photos that I have interspersed in the video for you to see a lot of examples of what it's like to shoot with this camera. And as you can tell based on the photos that I use, I definitely shoot a lot of, you know, social environments, like just my life, which was really kind of the whole point of this and street. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your patience. I really hope you are enjoying these conversations about different equipment to document your life. I hope it's inspired you and gave you something to think about. If you are a camera fanatic like me, I would love to hear what kind of camera gear you like using, what kind of environments you've used them in, what your shooting experience is, the whole nine. And if you are just getting into photography, or if you're considering going down the route of photography to further branch out and document your life in that way, I hope this was informative and it gave you just some sort of starting point on the types of camera equipment that is out there for you to choose from, because there are so many options that can meet so many different needs, and you really just got to pick the right camera for you. Or you can be a crazy person like me and just own a whole bunch of cameras and then just do it all. But there you have it. Thank you so much for watching once again, and you will hear from me soon.